You're listening to Reckless Creatives, a Pipeline Artists original podcast, where Sadie Dean and Jeanne Bowerman share the candid truth about the challenges and benefits of living life as artists.
Also, you're Matt today, right? Matt.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't catch that last time.
I mean,
so I had to, no, it's fine, but I had to, I couldn't grab screenshots from like earlier in our conversation with Phil because I had Matt on my thing. And then I had to like,
I wonder if I need to like close this a little bit. It feels like I've got way too much light coming in on me. I'm like, oh.
Very angelic this morning.
I'm like right in front of a big window. So like, this is not my normal office. I have family in town and they took over my office because it has a Murphy bed.
Oh, nice.
And so I have been, now I'm in my son's room and that's where I've been for the last couple of months. It feels weird working up here, but I kind of like it. But I have this.
Do you have that?
Yeah.
So, better than being in the dark.
Metaphorically and literally.
Yeah. Yes.
So I wanted to say, were you in a video, Is Morality Real?
That's not me.
Okay, good. Because then I'm really glad I didn't spend an hour and 40 minutes watching it. Okay, first of all, let's stop. First of all, can you just give a brief little, this is who I am, or Sadie can do it.
I don't know, Sadie, you want to try? You want to tee it up, or you're like, I don't know enough?
Yeah, there are like 4 quadrants to who Matt Lutz is, to the Matt Lutz that we're speaking to, and they're all very cool intersections of storytelling. And I would love to hear more about each one of these, especially as your day job, what keeps the lights on, to your passion as a writer and storyteller, to creating a cool connective tissue to the industry for people who are trying to break in, and the networking and what you're teeing up in March, which is your conference.
Consider this a cocktail party.
You threw like 10 things out there. I would add another quadrant, but then I think it doesn't add, then it's technically not a quadrant anymore. But like, I'm also like, you know, I'm first and foremost a family guy. Like that is my thing. Like I've got more kids, like 5 kids. I've been married for 20 plus years. And a lot of what I do is around that. Putting that aside, because I know that's not why we're here to talk. We're here to talk about, although it'll tie back in, and I'll explain in a second. I would say that I've been a creative my whole life. I went to art school. I've always been an artist. I went to art school, wasn't sure entirely what I was going to do, because I was like, okay, how do I maybe support myself in the arts? And I fell into graphic design, and that led to advertising, and I have been in some way, shape, or form playing in advertising for like 20 years. Like that is how I diversify my income. That's what keeps food on the table for the 5 kids and the roof over the head and all that stuff. But one of the weird niches that I got into was actually doing marketing and advertising for large scale conferences in different sectors like space, real estate, fintech, and, you know, like military and all of these things. And I also worked with Robert McKee for a little while with his story seminar. That's part of where the idea came from for putting on this conference. And I'll come back to that in a second, because I think it's important also to talk a little bit about, like, worked in advertising for a little while, and then I stopped and was like, is this it? Like, this isn't, like, I started really getting into the copywriting side of advertising and really enjoying the storytelling component. And then I was like, you know, film has always been a thing that I love. Like I spent an obscene amount of time at Blockbuster. I'm dating myself here, but like I would get out of work early and run to Blockbuster so I could beat everyone. And I'd spend, you know, like tons of time picking out movies for the entire weekend, and I would hoard a bunch of them. And at one point I was like, you know, what if I went back to school? What if I went to film school and could actually like maybe lean into something that's a little more creative and a little more aligned to what I want to do? Because advertising, to some extent, you sell your soul a little bit. You know, like you don't always believe in every product that you're maybe selling, but you're doing it because it keeps the lights on and you know, and all that stuff. And so I did. I quit, went to school, went to film school to do my master's in Ireland, which was an amazing year. It was a cool experience, met a lot of great people, got out of like my bubble in Michigan that I was living in and kind of got away from it all, which was, I would suggest everyone doing that and getting out of their comfort zone because it changed me for life. I graduated, I came back home, and weirdly enough, Scorsese didn't call Tarantino, Wes Anderson. Like no one called me. There was no like job just waiting for me to be like, hey, you're a filmmaker now. I'm just gonna fast forward now to I have been writing for the last 20 years on the side, and I've had various levels of success and whatnot. I've had some writing assignments, some options. I had one pilot made, which was cool. You'll never see it. Turned out terrible. Was not picked up. It wasn't, but I was still proud of doing it. And I had one of those weird moments of clarity, like when a lightning bolt hits you while we were filming. We were filming in Vancouver. And I remember I was just like on fumes and coffee one day, and the actors couldn't remember the lines. And we were just all slap happy at this time. At this point, we're just laughing and laughing. And I just remember I had that moment where I was like, wow, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, this is it. Like, the whole cliche, like, what would you do if money was no thing? That's it.
Yeah.
And so I've been chasing that high ever since, right? So, but
it's a cruel, cruel thing.
It is.
It is. But I think it's important to have balance too, because like that's the stuff that shapes you. Like, yeah, this industry is tough. Like, I don't think anyone will ever say like, oh, just hand it to me on a silver platter. Like that's not how it works. There's peaks and valleys, but I think every single one of those no's and every single one of those projects that fall apart at the 1 yard line, which I had my biggest potential opportunity was with Heartbeat Productions, and it fell apart at the 1 yard line and it crushed me. But at the same time, I was like, if you have a moment there where you can give up or you can keep going, and that's what I think it teaches you a lot about yourself and how bad you actually want something. So I've kind of meandered and I've given you a bunch of stuff. You threw like 10 questions at me, so I was trying to like
and you covered all of it.
I'm more of a linear person, and this was I kind of was like improvising here. It's like a little jazz in this.
You did a great job. You passed. I'm curious though, Matt, like because of having all these experiences, having that mindset of pushing forward when you do have that 1 yard line where you're like, it's going to get over and we're going to have that touchdown and we're off to the races. And then it's like, nope, just kidding. Like, how do you face that and push forward knowing that you are a family man and you're running your own businesses and doing all these other things to have that mental capacity to like carry that forward?
Number one is I have felt on multiple occasions kind of the pain of chasing money over meaning and like chasing pennies over purpose, if you want to use another. And like when you're doing something that's not aligned, and when you're wearing someone else's name tag, basically, like that's the heaviest weight you can put on your shoulders. That hurts. Like, and you can literally feel off. It can change every aspect of your life, and it doesn't feel great when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you're sensitive to it, yeah, that's a huge invoice to pay. And I think, as you kind of mentioned, like as a father, I don't want my kids to go through that. I want to show them like, hey, you've got dreams, you've got people that support you. Go do it. Do the thing. Like don't let anyone else live your life. And I think that's kind of what I'm still, I'm almost 50 years old and I'm still pushing in that direction, right? Like this has been decades and decades in the works, and I still haven't thrown in the towel yet. So I think it's because I know what it feels like to not be congruent to living someone else's dream or their vision for your life. And it's not worth it. And I certainly don't want to be that kind of a role model for my kids.
I think it's so fascinating when you think about being a parent and how that impacts your life as an artist. Like, I'd be curious to know with Sadie as the newest parent in this discussion.
Newest parent, but we also have, both of us have a kid that was born around, I think like the same week.
Right around the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So like I'm the old one here, but I do. I've written articles for, Balls of Steel for Script for years and mentioning my kids, like, and even I think I mentioned it in this last one. At the end of the day, the sun is setting on your life. Obviously the arts is probably not the thing you're going to be thinking about. You're going to be thinking about your kids, but you also want to think like, was I a good role model for them? Did I give them a good example of go after your dreams, and it's okay if you don't achieve whatever it was you thought you wanted to achieve in the beginning. I'd say if I were to look back at my life and when I didn't start writing until I was 40. I'm like, now. And
well, you're 42. So, I mean,
that's right.
It feels like forever.
42. Right. Yeah. Let's go with that. But at that time I had a dream of what I wanted to do. And now my dream is very different. What success looks like to me now is very different because I keep thinking about, I've already had success because I enjoyed this ride. I met great friends. I had amazing meetings that a girl from a little country town with one traffic light would not normally have. Like, I've had these incredible experiences that I wouldn't trade for the world. And so I think it's about how you define success, and you can pass that on to your kids, like, what success is. And if you're enjoying it, if you're enjoying writing, if you're enjoying directing, if you're enjoying acting, whatever it is you're doing, then I don't know, maybe that's success. I mean, one other thing. I have a cemetery that I run down the street from me.
As one does, sure.
Right. Don't you? And when I walk through it, I think, and we've got people in there from the Revolutionary War and Civil War, and I think nobody comes to visit these people. Nobody remembers these people. My thought is, if we can leave something on this earth as an artist, even if it's a book that was self-published that 5 people read, you've left something to prove you were here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, something that outlives you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of writers, like, that is a piece of the legacy too. Is it's like writing's a way to get to kind of get to know who you are and to actualize who you are in a lot of ways. And I think there's something really cool about being able to leave something behind, your words behind, that do outlive you, and is a way for people to get to have known you, even though they never potentially met you. I think that there's something cool about that. I don't know if that's one of the reasons I do it or not. I haven't really dove in that deep, but that is a cool notion, I think.
Yeah.
Talk to me in 10 years. And then
yeah. You bring up a really good point too, is it's like success to me looks a lot different today than it did 10 years ago. One of the things I do every single year, right around this time, if not a little earlier normally, is I do it's just this I don't know what the right word is, like a little, I mean, it's not a test, but it's just like an exercise that someone taught me years and years ago called isolated dreaming. And it's basically, I just take out a piece of paper and a pencil and I draw. I draw what I want my life to look like if there were no boundaries, if there was no financial burden, if there was no, I had no responsibilities, that sort of thing, like no kids, no anything, nothing can affect my dream. And you just draw it out. And it's changed over the years, which is really funny. Back in the day, the first time I did it, it was very much like I did that exercise, almost like it similar to a bucket list type thing, but it wasn't really aligned with who I was. It was aligned with who I thought people wanted me to be. And it had all these things on there that I could care less about, like the adventures I wanted to do, like jumping out of an airplane. No, never want to do that. But at the time, I was like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. There was a lot of material things on there, like things I wanted to own. And as I gotten older, I think I've started paying attention to what really brings me purpose and happiness and stuff. And the list has gone from this to this. It's shrunk way down, and it's gotten more intentional and a little more simple. But I think a lot of that ties into having family and realizing that, I'm an introverted person, as a lot of creatives are. And my happy place is at home with my family, that's it. And that doesn't cost a lot, so maybe I don't have to make as much as I thought I did in order to be able to just have quality time with my family and with my friends and stuff. So, and writing doesn't cost a lot. It's time, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, arguably it costs a lot of sanity, but it doesn't, financially, it's not huge, right? So those are the things I think to your point about like what does success look like, it's changed for me dramatically over the years.
Do you find that as you get older and you have different life experiences and different perspectives and you see that change, that it's changing what you want to say in your writing?
100%. I think that holds true for most writers because this is, we're at an interesting time right now. I will bring up the AI conversation because I think that's relevant to what
Dun, 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 dun,
dun,
dun.
you know, everyone's so scared about AI eating their lunch and replacing them and all that stuff. And it's going to shake up lots of industries and stuff. We're already seeing it. But when it comes to the art, I think the cool thing about writing and being an artist is it's pulling directly from your experience of your human experience. There are so many things that, and I'll just talk about writing specifically, that AI, like things like AI can't do. And I don't know why, I'm not going to go on an AI tangent, but I'm just kind of like, for whatever reason, it just kind of sparked because this is one of the topics that will be brought up on at this conference. I jokingly call it the human wink. You know, like there's so many things that we as humans have inside jokes about, or cultural connections about, or moments in time about, or we know there's a goosebumps moment that needs to be injected into a script right here. There's a beat that has to be taken, or something that can't be calculated, that an algorithm can't do. And that all 100% pulls from who you are at that moment in that time. Like your experiences that have led up to who you've become. And that's the thing that I think, to answer your question, is yes, I think all of your experiences change your writing. At least they do for me. I think they have to. Otherwise, it's just you're trying to paint a picture of some sort of perfection that's not true. And that's not going to move anyone or connect with anyone. And it's not going to touch anyone else's soul.
Mm-hmm.
I can never tell when Sadie's going to ask.
And I'm always like, wait, do I give it a minute? Do I give it a minute?
This is
why I edit out the pauses.
Yeah. But going back off, piggybacking off of what you said about, doing this isolated dreaming exercise that you do every year, which is very cool, which I want to try to do myself. Because my husband and I, we do like weekly check-ins of like, what is the big picture? And then we try to go more granular of like, okay, what is happening next week that we can control and all that. It's less of the materialistic things these days. I think, when you're young, you're like, when I have my job, I'm going to buy all these video games and I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to buy this car and I'm going to have this fancy watch. And now it's like, I just want to have a nice meal at home and, hang out with my family. And that's great. And I don't think about like those games and all these other little things that you thought were going to be so important to you in your life. But now you're like, yeah, I could afford it. Now I don't need it. There's no place for it in my life. Having a child and having that purpose-driven, I guess, reality check of, time is precious and what are you writing and what are you focusing on is huge. And I think as you get older and then you throw family into the mix, I think it kind of just dials you in and focuses you in a little bit more than maybe when you're, 20 years ago when you're a little younger.
100%. I think we have a lot of realistic expectations that we kind of take on from other people about who we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And as you live more, you start to realize what's true and what's not true for you. And I think that piece is huge. I know for me, I would rather, this will sound harsh, but I'm just kind of doing it for a little bit for effect. But like, I would rather die failing at something that I love than never of trying and having all of that regret that you're sitting there on your deathbed with. Like, there's that cliche, you see that from time to time pop up on social medias or whatever, where it's like, oh, there was a study of an interview with 1 million or whatever the number is they choose for that particular article, people in the nursing homes or whatever, the assisted living homes, and they asked them what they would have changed. And they always they never say I would have made more money. They never say I would have worked more. It's always the exact opposite. It's like I would have lived more, I would have danced more, I would have spent more time with family, I would have loved more. And it's always those intangible things that, and because they've lived their entire life, and then they're having that what was it all for moment. I think the earlier we can do that, the more we're going to enjoy life.
I also think the quicker you can connect with your authentic self and not trying to please all these other people, the quicker you're going to write the story you should be writing and have the bravery to write that thing, because you're not going to be thinking, oh, what are people thinking of me? Because the beautiful thing about getting older is I don't have two shits to give. I really, one of the things I started saying this last year was what people think of me is none of my business.
Yeah. Great.
I love that.
It's funny, like as a young writer, I was always trying to write like the films and the filmmakers that I was watching at that time. And because I thought, oh, that's what's selling, or that's what's trendy, or that's what I like. And it was, all of my early scripts are absolute shit. Like they're learning scripts, right? Like that's kind of what I talk them up to. But I go back every once in a while and I read a few pages and I cringe. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. Like this is not what my voice is as a writer. But I think as I got older, I took a course with Screenwriting U, and going through it, for whatever reason, something broke in me. And I was like, I'm just going to do this as a homework assignment. It was like a 6-month course or something. It was crazy. But I remember that is like, I just wrote it in my voice. I was like, I'm going to do what they're telling me and just kind of write it for me. And that was the project that I ended up submitting it when it was done to all these award shows and whatever. And it won all kinds of awards, got all kinds of cool, like that's the one that made it to the 1 yard line with Kevin Hart. Like all of that stuff was so validating. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a voice. I didn't know that I did. And then my writing got, in my opinion, and like I'm just speaking for myself, I got more proud of my writing. I'm not going to say it got better, but I definitely became more proud of it. And I had more fun with it. And it started to mean more to me. And I felt less like, I had less imposter syndrome. It's still there, don't get me wrong, but I had less of it. And all that stuff started to shift a little bit when I realized, like, oh, okay, I can write from my perspective and write things that I actually want to see on screen and stories that I care about. And I'm torn because, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, or for decades now anyway. Some of my default wiring says, pay attention to trends, pay attention to what's selling, like product. Like that is a little bit of a default wiring in me, but that oftentimes butts heads with being a creative.
Yeah.
And so that's one of those things I do have to balance. So I try to do things instead, like make sure that you have a really good title, and make sure your log line's really tight, and make sure you hook people right out of the gate in scripts. Those are my business decisions I try to make. And then I still try to make the script about something I care about.
That's kind of like the ad man in you, like the product.
100%.
Do you think that being in advertising actually helps you in pitching because you're selling your product?
Without a doubt. I mean, this goes back to what you were saying too. It's like, you are the sum of your experiences. I look at that stuff as, like, I could look at it like, oh, I haven't been writing for 20 years professionally because I've been stuck in advertising. Or I could look at it like, what skills has that given me to become better at pitching, to become better at putting a website up and promoting myself, and promoting this conference, and promoting a book that I'm working. It's definitely a skill that has served me, and I'm finding out that it's serving me better now as I'm kind of connecting the skill with the writing side of things.
So what I'm hearing is that every writer should go take a class in branding and copywriting to really hone in those skills for your pitching and writing your log lines and getting your hook.
I think there's a ton of value in understanding the business side of show. And some of those skills are what you just named there. Absolutely. Like, I think knowing how to brand yourself, knowing, even on this conference website, I think I have it on there, is it's not always like who you know, it's who knows you.
Yeah.
And part of that means that you have to figure out how to put yourself out there how to position yourself, how to brand yourself. You look at some of the top writers out there and they all have brands, the top filmmakers out there. I mean, you can rewind the hands of time and like Alfred Hitchcock had a logo, right? Like he had his profile logo. Spike Lee did a great job at creating a brand for himself. And all the most memorable writers and filmmakers, you immediately associate, like, their brand. So, and not some of that is unintentional, but a lot of it is intentional. And I think that's something to think about as you're pursuing your career as a writer, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
I just had a thought, Sadie.
What?
When we have guests on, we should say, what's your personal log line?
Ooh.
Right?
Don't hit him on the spot with that. That
No.
Don't
freak him out.
That interview go anywhere.
Like, oh, I have a bad connection. And then we never see them again.
Log lines are so hard. Speaking of a little symposium commercial, we have a logline class coming up on February 25th.
Dun-dun-dun.
Anyway,
There it is. Well, let's segue now into your Allegory conference. How this all came to be. I feel like screenwriting conferences are finally rearing their heads again, and there's some really good ones coming up, yours included. How did this come to be for you, and then running with it? And we'll start with that, and then I'll have some follow-up questions for you.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you both kind of micro and macro rationales of why I wanted to do this, but like we were talking about earlier, it's one of the weird niches that my ad agency works in, is putting on live events. I've had experience working with Robert McKee and Screenwriting You, in various aspects of marketing and branding, and so I kind of had my finger on the pulse a little bit. I even had like a very short-lived magazine with Robert McKee. Short-lived because it wasn't the easiest magazine to produce. He understands his brand very well. Yes. And I didn't. And that was kind of what led us to bring it in for a soft landing. One of the things is, I was kind of like, to your point, I was looking out there, I was like, after COVID and stuff, I'm like, I kind of miss the real life stuff. And I am introverted, but I also know, like, some of the best things that have happened in my career have happened because I've met people in real life, and I've built relationships. I've met what ended up becoming a co-writer at an event, and we hit it off, and we ended up working on 4 or 5 projects, maybe more than that, actually. She's an amazing writer, and I wouldn't have met her had we not been at a live event and just hit it off over one project. We were just kind of talking shop, and said, do you want to try writing something together? We did, and it led to more and more and more. That wouldn't have happened without a live in-person experience. Same thing with a few other producers and stuff that I've met. So I started looking out there, and there wasn't a ton happening. There's the Storyteller 360, which is I haven't been yet. I'm going to go this year, but my understanding, it's a great event.
I went when it was in New York City. It was really good.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. So, like, I hear good things there. And obviously there's the Austin Film Festival track, which, is kind of like the bar, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I don't know that is happening right now, that we're, this is a bit of an experiment, what we're putting on with ours, is I haven't seen all the elements that I think screenwriters need all put together in one event. And I'm not saying that we're going to do this flawlessly, but we're certainly going to attempt, because this is our inaugural event. And those elements kind of started coming and forming when I started talking to different screenwriters and producers and stuff. And I was like, I'm thinking about putting on an event. Everyone's like, no, this is you're crazy. You're going to lose your ass. You're going to lose money, blah, 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 which may still be true. But the same 4 things kind of kept bubbling up, and like everything we talked about in terms of like, what would you want to see there? What would you want to learn? And then also what I wanted to kind of learn. Mm-hmm. And it kind of broke into 4 elements. Number 1 was State of the Union. I can't tell you how many writers said, I don't really want to speak right now because I don't know what to do. Like I've written for years, and now all of a sudden there's been so many curveballs with, again, AI, streamers, everyone fleeing Hollywood, weird distribution things happening, strikes, like you name it, it has been curveball after curveball. So a lot of writers are struggling, and they're like, where are the opportunities? What I was doing before isn't working now. So that was kind of category number one, is a bit of a state of the union. What's happening in this industry right now, the good, the bad, the ugly. Number two is obviously the education piece. But that kind of broke up into two subsections. It's like the craft and the career. And I would say a third is the confidence piece, right? Like as writers, we all deal with lots of resistance and like, again, imposter syndrome, fear, procrastination, you name it all bubbles up. So that was number two, was the education piece. Number three, because we're writers and because we do deal with imposter syndrome and everything else, and it's a hard industry to navigate, and this is not like becoming a lawyer where you're like, oh, I go to school, I take the bar, I do this, and then I practice law. Everyone has a different path, and so that can lead to a lot of frustration, a lot of curiosity, and you need a shot in the arm of motivation and inspiration to keep moving forward. So that's the third bucket, is like the inner work stuff. And then the fourth piece was the networking, which I already mentioned. So that's what this conference is trying to put together, is all of those things in one jam-packed day. And it is going to be a long day. Like, people are going to leave. I kind of jokingly refer to this as like, you know, if you've ever been to like a Tony Robbins seminar where everyone leaves at like after a 16-hour day and they just drop because they're exhausted. Not quite that bad, but it is going to be a lot. And so that's kind of what I was like, why don't I take my skill set as, you know, an advertiser and a marketer of conferences and combine it with my passion for writing and see what happens. And so this is a bit of an experiment. It's our first event. It's shaping up. I couldn't ask for better partners, better speakers. Like, it's all coming together. It's been a ton of work. Usually I'm just on the side of helping put butts in seats and hearts in seats at events. Now I'm, you know, behind the scenes wearing all the hats. And I will tell you, it's been an absolute kind of act of love. Like, it's been a lot of fun, but it has been a ton of work. And my hope is that it's all worth it. My hope is that all of the attendees get a ton of value. And honestly, all the speakers that come to this stage walk away saying, wow, I got to do that instead of I had to do that. Which, you know, is a different energy. Every single speaker that I've spoken to, I've had the same conversation with them, which is, your role here is to mentor from the stage. It is to send the elevator back down with your knowledge for the next generation, with the goal of helping them to shorten their learning curves, avoid some of the same pitfalls that you've experienced in your career, and to truly just mentor and give back. And so not everyone that I've approached to speak at this event has been aligned with that necessarily, and they're not going to be on the stage. So, but all the people that are, they all are there for the same reason, which is to pour into the audience. And so that is, like I said, hopefully it works.
I just looked at the speaker list. I saw Sadie Dean on there.
Hey.
And you've got like almost 40 speakers on there. That's going to be a big, so are there a lot of panels?
Yeah, there's a combination. Like, so we have panels, we have keynotes, we have demos, we have, you know, there's a pitch fest. There's also going to be roundtable discussions as well. So like the day is all programming on the stage. And then we have an after party afterwards. And during that after party, it's not just networking. There's also going to be some programming. Like, we're going to have an AMA with Zach Bornstein, which he's written. He's a staff writer in Shrinking right now, which is awesome. It's like one of my favorite shows. So this was a bit of a chance to nerd out a little bit. I was like, I got this idea. I'm thinking we do like a fireside chat. We like it. It'll be cool. It'll be moody. He's like, let's do it. But that's going to be like an AMA where everyone can just pick his brain about, well, what's it like to be in a writer's room at Shrinking or SNL, or you know, like he's developed like a dozen different shows and TV projects that he sold to different studios and stuff. So like, people are going to have questions about that. And then there's also going to be another one as well, which is again, it's a bit of chance to geek out with a cool story of start to finish. Do you know the Happy Time Murders? That movie? It was Melissa McCarthy, Joe McHale, but it was basically like puppets and humans together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of a quirky movie, and it got like a bunch of praise, and then it won some Razzies, so it's kind of one of those like cult type movies. But it's literally they're gonna the you're gonna learn all about like from the moment the idea came to what it took to actually get it out there and get it produced and stuff. And it's a cool story, so you're gonna learn that. And then there's gonna be 4 breakout roundtable discussions on different subjects and stuff. So there's programming literally all day long. So that's why we have so many speakers, because each one of those round tables has a few speakers at it. We have multiple panels. So yeah, it's going to be a jam-packed day.
Yeah, that's a full day.
It's a full day. Like there's not a ton of breathing room, which normally I think is important, but I think people will get to really process things the next day. Like I hope that they leave really, really inspired and really with a bunch of new insights and ideas that can hopefully improve or elevate their careers. Like that's really the goal here. So I figure we've got enough speakers that have enough knowledge. People are going to walk away with some nuggets.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I love the roundtable concept. Like when I've gone to AFF a million times, but like, being able to sit at the round table and have like those conversations, those are really helpful and cool, and a completely different experience than just sitting in an audience.
Cool.
Listening.
It's like like I said, everything's an experiment, and someone threw that idea out there, and I was like, I love it. Let's do it. And that also allowed me to keep like, I just started reaching out to speakers first before I really started shaping the agenda. And so when I realized how many speakers, to your point, like there's almost 40 speakers, there's a couple more we're adding. I was like, whoa, there's not enough hours in the day. And then we started, that's why I started having to get kind of creative in terms of what's the balance between, giving people tons of content, but also making sure that it's not just like, it's not drinking from a fire hose all day long. So like, there are, like, that's why I said, like, even in the after hour party, it's a different energy, right? It's like, there's going to be music playing in the background. You're like lightly, and then you're going to have drinks in hand, and you will have hors d'oeuvres going around and all that stuff while you're sitting at this round table and talking to, a writer who's ahead of you on their journey. And so there's, hopefully there's stuff they can pick their brain about and learn and have aha moments.
Any advice either of you have for people who are interested in attending, those who do attend, just in presenting themselves, what they should maybe what to expect, lessen expectations on certain things, presentation of oneself, anything that you could advise?
Don't be a freak.
Don't be a freak.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a panel on that, actually. Like we're going to have a manager's panel, and they're literally going to talk about how to present to them and what they look for. But for this event in particular, because we're purposely going to design the morning to kind of break people into conversations and get people connected and stuff. Like we're doing a lot of things intentionally to make sure that it's more conversational and it's more like everyone's just kind of hanging out and learning versus stuffy. And this is not a show up in a suit type conference. It's a long day. Get ready to kind of hang out with a bunch of your peers and learn and pick each other's brains and have fun. And so I would say that's the biggest thing, is just come in and try to get comfortable and try to break out of your comfort zone a little bit as well. Like talk to your neighbor, talk to the people next to you, do work, like workshop some things together. Like there's going to be those opportunities woven throughout this day. And don't be a freak. Like you said.
Yeah. As somebody who's a conference junkie, talk to the people on either side of you. Like, don't so much focus on, oh my gosh, I have to talk to that professional screenwriter up on that stage. The people who are on your left and on your right, you never know where they're going to be one day, and you're all going to come up together. And, it's really about community and creating friendships and lasting friendships and those shared experiences of creating art. Like, don't be so starstruck that you're chasing after the pro writer. or the manager or whatever in the room. Like, enjoy the experience. Put your phone down.
Yeah, that's great.
Be present and really experience it, because just put that damn thing, just turn the ringer off, put it away.
Yeah, I think that's huge. You know, one thing you said that reminded me of an aha moment I've had, because I've had this, I'm interviewing all these speakers and I'm talking to them all, and we're planning their talks and talking about the topics. And one of the things that has come up time and time again is like, they're all people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not like, I think we put everyone that are professional writers and whatnot, we put them on pedestals. And I think we need to kind of talk to everyone, eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul, and not be afraid of them. Because honestly, that's the thing that is, I was talking to my wife about this. I was like, it's so funny. Managers have always been one of those things. Like, I've never tried to get a manager or anything like that. It's not something I've done. And a lot of it was tied to probably self-worth and whatever. And like, oh, do I need one? Like the black box of what does a manager do? What's the difference between a manager and agent, whatever. But one of the things that has happened is, because I've talked to several of them, to form this panel, is every single one of them is so delightful. Like I did not have a bad experience yet. Every single person you're going to hear from on that particular panel is awesome. And so that was the thing for me, that it was like, it demystified a little bit of this industry. And I think that's the hope of this event too, is it's like, don't come into this, like, put your expectations aside and just let what happens happen, because you are going to be surprised that these are all people and they're all just like you. It's like that Us Weekly or whatever, like stars, they're just like us. But to your point too, like, the networking thing, I think, is huge. And you're right. I've heard this story a million times. It's like, you don't know, like, you could be speaking to a PA who years from now is going to be running a studio, or, it's like, just meet your people and find out who you like, and just with no real expectations. But some of those people are going to end up being in a position for you to help each other, at some point. You might have a great script that they actually want to produce at some point, and you've had a relationship for 10 years. If this is something you want to do, don't look at it transactionally over like, I have to go for the jugular right now. I have to put all my asks out right there. It's like, no, just start finding the people that you like and form natural relationships with them. The rest will fall in place.
So when somebody's at the end of the day, we talked about, like, how do you define success? Like, how will you define that this event, this inaugural event, was a success? Like, what do you want people to walk away? Like, if you could have one person come up to you and say one thing to you that would make you feel like, wow, okay, I did it.
It's interesting. The first thing that popped in my head, and this is almost like a little selfish, but is, and it goes back to our conversation we were having earlier, is, I'll probably have a couple of my older kids there. And like, if they're proud of me for doing it, that will have meant something. In terms of the audience, I think if they can have an experience like I've had at certain events, where they walk away having met someone that changes the course of your career, having learned something that changes the way you approach your writing, those aha moments, I think that's the reason to do it. I was talking to, I've got my parents in town right now, so I was talking to my stepmom, and she was asking me a question like, how many tickets have you sold or whatever? And I said, we're on par, where it's like 60% sold out right now. And wow. I think we're in good shape, because the tickets are coming. Like, I've been through this enough where I know at live events, the last couple of weeks is where it all, like, people, like, ticket sales go nuts and stuff. So I think we'll hit what we want to. But she was like, the old adage, like, if you're putting on like, if you're at church or whatever, and only one person shows up, you still preach. And so we're, no matter what happens, I think if everyone gives it their all, and everyone the speakers walk away feeling good about themselves, having given back, because I think that's how we as humans grow. Like, you grow as a person when you give of yourself. So if they walk away having a little more purpose and feeling a little more proud of themselves that they kind of contributed and helped out and mentored. If the speakers walk away, not the speakers, I'm sorry, the attendees, if they walk away having learned something, having met someone, having shifted something internally in them, confidence-wise, those are all indicators for me that this was a success. And then again, I'll come back to myself in a very selfish way. If I had fun doing this, that is going to be like another thing, like, okay, cool. This is a thread worth pulling on a little bit more. And maybe we start thinking about year 2 and how do we scale it? How do we change it? How do we grow it?
And I think people also don't realize how fun it can be for the speakers because they get to see each other and like they get to be in an environment with their peers and they're having a lot of fun.
100%. And that's part of the goal here too, is my post-event. One of the things that I'm going to do for all the speakers is I'm going to put together a private dinner so that they can all kind of come back together and hang out with each other, break bread in a way that is, there's no pressure, there's no agenda, there's no whatever. But my hope there is if we do this year after year, it almost becomes a little bit of a reunion for the people that come back and speak again. But also it's an opportunity for them to network with their peers and potentially collaborate. And who knows, maybe projects and relationships will come of it. And that's just my way of being like, thank you for being a part of it. But my hope is that something comes from it in a cool way for them.
That's so
and I
cool.
think that's a really great idea. Like I used to speak at the Central Coast Writers Conference, and Terry Bayes, who was organizing it at the time, always did that. She had like this big dinner with all of us there, and it was we looked forward to it, and we got to meet each other, and still friends with those people years and years later. Like it's I think it's a nice thing to do, and respectful of their time and energy and all of that.
Good. Well, it was just an idea. We'll see how. Like I said, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but it'll be post conference. Maybe at the next one, I'll figure out a way to do it during the conference. But this place, just capacity wise and stuff, just doesn't have the space. So
I love how you are setting this bar high.
Yep.
I love it because it's like, okay, we're going to try. Like, we're going to just give it a shot. And I think it's great. I love the ideas that you have. They're different. I've been to a lot of conferences. I'm hearing a lot of the classic stuff that everybody expects in a conference, but also little spins on things that I think will make it fun and interesting. And, I used to go to Great American Pitch Fest for like 10 years. I went to that every year, and it's you look forward to going back. And I know people go to AFF, like, religious freaks going every single year all the time, even if they have nothing to talk about, like they have no new script or anything like that, they still going because they just want to connect with other writers.
Yeah.
Which is great. So cool.
That's the dream. But again, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself or ski like too far over my skis here, because I want to focus on this first event. But one of the things that I've approached some of the programming and how we're designing this thing, I've got ideas for years 2 and 3 already, like things to like how we can elevate it. But I've approached it almost the way I approach writing, which is like every scene you're in, you say, okay, cool. How can I increase the stakes? How can I elevate this? How can I like improve it? And that's literally like every talk. I'm kind of looking at that individually. Like, what are the questions we can put here that'll make it different than what people have already heard, but also valuable? What is a way that we can use this time, like again, those roundtable discussions or those fireside chats in the after hours, instead of just making it networking and nothing else? So those are the things that I'm focused on trying to do. So I appreciate you kind of noticing those little nuanced things that we're trying to inject into this, because it does take a lot of time to figure this stuff out. And a lot of it's coming from conversations that I have with speakers too. Like there's so many great ideas that I'm like, oh, that's amazing. There's one speaker, Dave Friedman, he's given me tons of cool ideas. And I'm like, great, let's do that. Let's do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So well, this is a little bit of a crowd think project.
That's where the best ideas come from too, which is why everyone has to go to this to get
and
that.
I will say, yes. And I will say one piece of advice. When you see Sadie Dean, that's the one person you can be a freak in front of. Get your freak out of your system in front of Sadie.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll be that person for you.
You're welcome.
If you want to, if you need another person, by all means, you can do that with me too.
Okay.
It'll just Sadie and I. For your audience, if people want to attend, I'll set up a discount code, and cool. I guess just Reckless 20. And if you use that, you save 20% on the ticket.
Okay.
And allegory.live is the website. So just
And
a
we're
small
gonna-
plug at the end here. Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
No, it's fine.
March 21st.
Oh yeah,
Find
yeah.
out.
And it's in LA. Well, it's in Glendale technically, but yeah, I forgot to mention the place. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, first time doing it.
Yeah. No, we'll put all this information in our show notes for you as well.
Awesome. Cool. Well, this was
Definitely.
fun. This was great. I didn't know where this conversation was going to go, but it was fun.
Yeah, we
But
never know
Matt-
either.
True. And this is why we don't like to prepare, because we talked about things that if you had told me we were going to be talking about, like, how does getting older affect your right? Like, I would not have thought that would be a question that would have popped in my head, but that's why we just let it go.
No, that's
Yeah.
fair. And as a person with a ton of anxiety, thank you so much. It made it so easy not to prepare.
Reckless Creatives is a Pipeline Artist original podcast. Like, subscribe, and follow us on social media at Pipeline Artists. And find more info at pipelineartists.com/listen. Until next time, stay reckless.